we're back for round 2 of
Tell Me the Crime.
Tell Me the Crime for tonight because we didn't forget. I was sick and yeah. And then we went to Chicago, and now I'm doing 2. So
what episode is this one?
This is episode 6.
Okay.
Yes. So, episode 6.
Tell Me the Crime.
Tell Me the Crime. This one is a pretty disturbing one.
Ooh.
Very disturbing.
Do you think I know this story already?
I doubt it. Okay. I didn't know it the first time, I researched it. So,
okay.
It's pretty messed up. So
what's the title of today's episode?
The title of today's episode is well, I don't really have a good title yet, but it's just the case of Shanda Sharer.
Shanda Sharer?
Yeah. So I'll come up with a good episode name after that.
Shanda Sharer.
Shanda Sharer. She is the victim, right? Unfortunately, in this
sound.
case, yeah.
Sh sound.
The sh sound. Are you getting into linguistics? Or are you just getting tired?
That's the pronunciation for the linguistics.
Okay.
This symbol.
This symbol. Okay.
This symbol.
Yeah, because everyone can see an audio
exactly.
podcast. Right? Good call. All right. Okay, so before we start, picture this.
Okay. It's a woman.
It's a woman.
I'm going to guess.
Yeah, you think? Oh my God, you're psychic. Okay, it's a woman. It's late at night.
Okay.
You get into the car with people you trust them, nothing feels wrong. Mm-hmm. You're talking, you're laughing, and then something shifts. Not all at once, but enough that you realize you're no longer in control.
Are you talking about the main character of the story, or
yes. We're talking about the victim, Shanda. This is just an intro. The
victim is Shanda.
Yes.
Okay.
So the story tonight is not about a stranger. It's not about a stranger murdering you. It's not about, anything sinister. It's actually about a group. It's about group dynamics and about group thinking and diffusion of responsibility.
Okay.
And what happens when no one in the group stops things, even when they should. So, who was she? Shanda Sharer. She was 12 years old.
God, super young.
Super young, I know. It makes it even more tragic. Living in southern Indiana. And people described her as outgoing, friendly, trusting. Right? She was young enough that if someone called her outside late at night, she wouldn't assume danger. She assumed it was normal. And that's pretty normal for for kids this age, right? They haven't been exposed to that much threat in life yet, right? It's not going to be an immediate thought of that. Right. Plus, they're not thinking as clearly because, their brains aren't fully developed yet, right? So you're not going to be thinking about those things.
What happened?
Well, that's the critical thing. So before we get into what exactly happened, let's talk about the people that were involved, right? So, Melinda Lovelace, 16 years old, she was the main person, right? She was the main leader, and she was the driver, right? And she was the one that had the issue with Shanda. Lori Tackett, she was 17, so she was the oldest of the group, and she was more dominant, and she ends up being the one to sort of escalate things, in addition to Melinda's lead. Hope Rippey, she follows and participates, and then there's Toni Lawrence. She's 15, and she's kind of the least dominant, and she's the one that confesses later. Okay?
So it's a group of teenagers.
It's a group of teenagers, of teenage girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this isn't about one person losing control. It's about 4 people and no one stepping in.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. So at the center of everything is Melinda Loveless. Now, she had been in a relationship with another girl, and she believed that Shanda had become involved with that same person.
Okay. Wait, you mean like relationship here is romantic?
A relationship. It was a romantic relationship. Yep.
Okay.
So she was involved with another girl in a romantic relationship, and she was jealous because she believed that Shanda was getting with this
He
girl.
was only 12 years old.
Who was only 12 years old, which is what I thought at first, too. I was like, how?
Yeah.
Like, is that possible? Because Melinda was 16, right?
Yeah.
So, she's threatened and jealous of a 12-year-old. It's wild to me. So things, turned into jealousy, anger, and humiliation for Melinda. And because of that, she wanted to confront Shanda, right? But it wasn't just talking that she wanted to do. She wanted to scare her. She wanted to hurt her and teach her a lesson, right? You don't mess with me and my girl kind of thing.
Well, Melinda was keeping it for quite some time then, right? Because she probably has been jealous for some time and suspect that.
Well, what do you mean keeping it for a long time? Like keeping
like the jealousy, let's say.
Well, what makes you think that it was a long time? I don't know. I actually don't know how long it was before she approached her. But yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I have no idea. But I do know that she was jealous of her at some point. Yeah. But once multiple people are involved, accountability starts to disappear. Right. So who's responsible? And I'll talk a little bit about the not just diffusion of responsibility, but another thing called pluralistic ignorance. But I don't think that people here could ever claim to be ignorant in any capacity, and you'll see why. Okay, so January 10th, 1992 is the day that everything starts. Okay, this is so it's late at night, and they drive to Shanda's house. They call her outside, and she comes willingly. No force, no threat. She gets into the car.
Well, she probably didn't know what happened, right?
No,
like I'm just gonna hang out and
exactly. She
have
had no clue.
a great night with my
friends and whatever. Yep.
Yeah.
Although, why a bunch of, older teens. Although I guess for a 12-year-old, that would probably be enticing. She was probably excited about hanging out with older kids, right?
Yeah.
Probably didn't think that they were going to do what they did. So she gets into the car, and at that moment, she just really thinks she's going somewhere with people that she knows. And
I would think the same.
I would think the same, too. I mean, that's very reasonable. So they start driving, and at first it's normal. Then Melinda turns around, and she starts accusing her, right? Questioning her, right? And then the first physical act. So Melinda grabs her hair, pulls her head down, and starts hitting her, punching her.
Oh, no.
Right? So she's obviously pretty angry and jealous. Now, the tone is completely different. And again, she was... I mentioned that she was a little bit embarrassed, right? Or humiliated. Because, I mean, if you think about it, 16-year-old versus a 12-year-old. If your girlfriend, if you lost your girlfriend to a 12-year-old when you're 16, that would be pretty humiliating, right?
Well, maybe for her, she was her first love or best friend.
Yeah, could have been something like that. But either way, I can understand why someone would be a little bit embarrassed by that. But embarrassment
It's
is
just
not
the
the end
age
of the
gap.
world. Yeah. Okay, so it's pretty clear that the tone is now totally different from where it started, and it's no longer a conversation, right? This is now a totally different beast.
And all of those girls that you described at the beginning got involved in this.
They're all in the car.
Okay, they're
So
all in the car and
four-
pick
yeah.
Shanda up.
Shanda. Yep. So
Yeah.
they all picked up Shanda. Now they drive to a secluded area. They pull her out of the car, and this is where it escalates. Okay. They punch her repeatedly, kick her while she's on the ground, drag her, continue hitting her even when she's unresponsive. Okay.
Wow.
Even when she's not resisting anymore.
It's a 12-year-old girl.
I know, it's a 12-year-old girl, and it's
How-
four, like, near adults.
Yeah.
Right? Like, kicking her on the ground. And at one point, they even strip some of her clothing off
Oh no.
just to humiliate her. Right? So she's cold, she's bleeding, and she's crying, begging, trying to understand what she did wrong. Right? So she
Yeah.
doesn't. I mean, at this point, it's like I would be so confused, right? Because even if you knew at this point that this person was jealous, it's like, but why are you doing all of this? This is insane.
Did Melinda ask her or say something about her lover and why she was jealous of Shanda at all?
Well, she thought that Shanda and her ex were like together, right? She thought that they were.
Did she verbally mention that
Yes.
when she
yeah.
was attacking her? Okay.
Yeah. She was questioning her, right? She was asking her questions about her ex, right? And
Right.
saying, like, what did you do with her? And blah, blah, blah. You know, like all the questions pertaining to what they might have done together, how many times they hung out, that sort of thing, right? Trying to get sort of a sense of where they were.
Yeah, but maybe at that point, I think Melinda was not at the point that she wanted to really listen to the answers or what the reality was. It's more about, I'm so angry. Like whatever you say to me, it doesn't matter. I will.
Yeah.
I'll need to throw my anger at you.
Exactly. Yeah, I get that. Okay, so at some point, right, they think that she might already be dying, or she's close to, right? Because they really got, they really beat her bad. So at that point, they actually leave her on the ground in the freezing temperatures, injured, alone.
No.
And then they drive away.
Oh.
Right? Like, that's just...
So who found her?
So we'll get to that in a second. But before... So this is the thing, right? She's not dead yet, actually. So this is actually critical. They could have stopped there. They could have ended this, right? It's pretty bad already, right? But they could have still walked away not being murderers. Okay. They could have just ended it there. But instead,
They came back?
they decided to go back
Wow.
because they're worried not about her, but about getting caught. Because they know if she's still alive.
Yeah, it makes sense. She would report to the police, probably.
Exactly, right? Which, of course, they should. I
Yeah.
mean, she should, but
Yeah.
It's like, well, you shouldn't have done that in the first place. Like, holy shit. Anyway, so the second abduction, they go back. She's still alive, right, when they return, but she's barely alive. But she's still alive. So they put her back in the car, and at this point, she's severely beaten, disoriented, unable to defend herself at all. Right?
Yeah, I could imagine that.
Yeah, and imagine.
Like
yeah.
one
Yeah.
versus what, 4?
4. Yeah. 1 versus 4, and she's substantially younger too.
Yeah. The youngest, right?
Yeah, the youngest. She's 12, right? Everyone else is 15 to 17. So now at this point, and you think it's already horrible, right? But the violence now becomes even more deliberate. Okay. So they drive around for hours, and they're not driving around to escape, but to continue. They continue hitting her.
In the car.
Yep. They take stops. They drive around,
Wow.
take her out, beat her, and, take her back in the car, drive around.
Yeah.
Yep. So they continue kicking her, verbally degrading her, threatening her. And then at this point, Lori Tackett becomes even more involved here, right? Because remember, it was Melinda that was sort of the leader in most of this. She was doing most of it at the beginning. But Lori Tackett becomes more aggressive and much more willing to escalate things. Okay, eventually, they stop again. But this time, the intent is very clear, right? It's not intimidation anymore. It's not threats. It's not anything like that. So
to kill her.
Yeah. So Lori Tackett takes a knife.
Oh my god.
Yep. And she stabs Shanda in the chest.
Oh my god.
I know. Horrible. Not multiple times, but it was one very decisive stab. But it was enough. It was severe enough. And at that point, she's still alive, but critically injured. Now you think, okay, how could it get worse than this? Right? It gets worse.
What?
It gets worse.
Wasn't that enough already? They were torturing her.
This is all for, and it's not even true. She was never even with this other girl.
God,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. So this is the crazy thing. This is all about a jealous
An assumption.
girl and an assumption about them hanging out and being together, which is wow. You think, first of all, no one even deserves to be beaten for that. And it was an ex. They don't even deserve to be reprimanded for it because they didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
But okay, this is, man, thinking about these acts too is very difficult. So this next one, okay, this is the final act. They pour gasoline on her.
What?
Yep.
They burn her?
Yep.
Alive?
They set her on fire while she's still alive.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So, yeah, and fire is not instant, right? It takes,
I am speechless.
I know. I didn't
I want to
think
tear up.
I know it's so messed up.
Girl.
She's a 12-year-old girl. She's innocent. She's trusting. She's thinking,
Oh my god.
I'm just going to hang out with these older kids, and then this happens to her, that is disgusting. Oh man. So at this point, like I said, it takes time for a fire to burn someone, and it causes extreme pain. So at this point, there's zero ambiguity left. This is intentional killing, and it's intentional killing in a very painful and awful way, right? So after this, they leave. They get back in the car, and they drive away. And it's disturbing what comes next. They don't go to the police. They don't panic. They don't break down immediately. They just continue on with their lives.
Okay.
Right?
And when did the police eventually find out that it's Melinda and her gang?
This is right. So this is where how they get caught, right? And it's because one of the girls in the group eventually spoke up. Yeah, she's the least dominant. That was Toni Lawrence, and she starts to crack, right? She talks. So initially to friends, right? Then eventually to the police. So once that happens, everything unravels because this wasn't a clean crime. There weren't multiple people, multiple locations, too many moving parts. The confessions here, once questioned, Toni Lawrence cooperates early, right? She's kind of the person that made everything unravel.
Yeah.
Hope Rippey follows after her, right? Then Lori Tackett eventually is implicated. And then Melinda Lovelace, identified as the initiator, she then confesses. And importantly, none of them can fully distance themselves because they were all present at multiple stages, right? But they're basically, you might think like, how the hell did something like this even happen, right? Because it's so gross, it's so cruel, and it's so nasty. But this case is kind of described as one in which it started out as an act of wanting to threaten someone and to just really intimidate them, maybe hurt them a little bit. But it escalated. And it escalated in an interesting way because everyone in the group kind of feels some sort of social pressure, right?
Yeah.
So they feel like, okay, this person is not stopping. That person's not stopping. And this is where I was going to talk about pluralistic ignorance, which is the idea that when you're in a group scenario, if you're unsure of how, you're feeling pretty anxious about a particular situation, let's say, you look around to other people to assess whether or not they're also anxious. Right? But because you're not sure of how everyone else feels, you might be sort of trying to compose yourself. But because you're doing that, everyone else, and if everyone else is doing the same thing, everyone kind of looks like they're calm. And so it's like nothing's wrong, right? So they just keep on doing what they're doing. And that's what often happens in bystander cases where you have a brutal murder or something horrible happen and no one does anything. And it's like there are two things there. There's the pluralistic ignorance where everyone else thinks, like no one else is freaking out, so I guess it's not a big deal. Then the other thing is diffusion of responsibility, right? Where that is the idea that if there are multiple people there, you say, well, I'm not the only one here, right? I didn't really do that much. It's because there's four of them. It's not just one person. Well, I only did this. Well, I only did that, and I only did that. Well, the end result is that the four actions together killed the person, right? So, but yeah, so those are two things that
it's kind of like peer pressure as well, right? Because they're a group of friends and they probably have been getting along for a while, and one is doing something, and the other person, you should also do that.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, there's tons of peer pressure.
You're kind of obliged to do the same thing as your peer.
Yeah, well, especially when you have like a leader in a group who's pretty dominant. And, or if someone's telling you have to do something, and I don't know what the dynamics were in the conversations that they had and everything and all the details there, but if someone does tell you to do something in a very convincing way, people often simply just think they have to, even though there's like no rational reason for why they should have to.
Especially if this is a group of teenagers and I don't know like the psychology behind this, but what I can observe is teenagers like to belong to like a certain group, right? Yep. Oh, I will be in that gang, and this will look cool to me. So something like that. So they probably were forming this kind of identity as a group of cool kids, or I don't know what they call it.
Exactly. And there's that sort of need to fit in.
Yeah.
Right?
And I belong to
and
this
I
group.
belong to this group, and I need to sort of show that I belong to this group.
Right.
And yeah, and but to and for it to escalate like this, but here's the thing: is that it's always a progression from one step to the next, right? And if one step is only a little bit different from the last one, right? You're thinking, well, I've already gone this far. What's one little step more going to go, right? So, and that's dangerous, very, very dangerous. So,
anyway, I have a question about the ex-girlfriend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like did the police call her at all? And
after
was he part of?
She, yeah.
Oh yeah, was she part of the court?
I'm sure that she was questioned, but I mean, after the confessions, it wasn't really. I mean, it's not really relevant, but I would be curious to know about interviews with her and whatnot.
Because at some point, I think you mentioned that Shanda, did not get involved in that at all.
As far as I know, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, that's a crazy case. So, right. So, how did they actually feel about this, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that Toni Lawrence, she definitely showed the most remorse, right? And she cooperated. She expressed guilt pretty much from the beginning, right? She was the one that like I said, made this whole thing unravel. Hope admitted involvement. She later described fear and peer pressure, right?
Okay.
And then there's Lori Tackett and Melinda. So Lori was more detached and she showed less immediate remorse. And Melinda framed it around anger and jealousy, not immediate regret. So I'm, not too surprising based on the acts that were involved.
This is really
in each,
sad.
Right? Very, very sad. Yeah. So, this wasn't a single emotional response. It was a spectrum from regret to justification to detachment. But at the end, all four of them were charged, all convicted, but they didn't receive the same sentences as each other. Well, at least one of them didn't. Melinda Loveless and Lori Tackett got 60 years each.
Wow. The whole of their lives, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah, which is great. Hope Rippey got 60 years, but that was later reduced. And then Toni Lawrence, 20 years. And that's because she was the one that cooperated with police and she got, the evidence on everyone. So, and over time, some of them were released for, after serving a significant portion of their sentences. But, they got pretty heavy sentences, as they should. So this case is really not about impulse. It's not about one moment. It's about repeated decisions, multiple opportunities to stop, and escalation instead of de-escalation. And the most important part is that no one intervened, right? That's the
peer
sad
pressure,
part.
I think.
It is peer pressure, but yeah, no one intervened. And this didn't happen because one person lost control. It happened because 4 people chose not to stop.
Oh my God.
And
what about the reactions from Shanda's family or their family?
Oh, I mean, they were devastated, right? Everyone was absolutely disgusted and devastated by the entire situation. So yeah, I mean, but once, you're in a situation where you choose not to stop and that line is crossed, it doesn't really matter how it started, right? It only matters how it ended. So
that's brutal.
That's the story of Shanda Scherer, and I'll come up with a title for that. And
poor little girl.
Poor little girl, indeed. So yeah, that was the really, really intense story today. So, yeah, thank you everyone
Thank
for
you for
listening
telling the story, and thank you everyone for listening to the story.
of Tell Me the Crime.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see you
We'll see you next week.
week.
Thank you.